Madume ka lapere le amala nano la rona le ratehang la mafumahadi eleng the ladies club mona mo kanaleng ya bobedi nna le bitso la ka ke Lebogang Motswedi, and thank you so much for joining us as we bring you all the trailblazers, game changers when it comes to women's sport. Now today we're chatting about women who are flying the South African flag really high. We have of course an awesome guest in studio gompieno ke ena leading SA show jumper ke bua ka Lorette Knowles-Taylor. She is our game changer today. You're also welcome to have a conversation with her if you want on social media platforms. Sebedisang hashtag ya rona leng the ladies club kopana le rona ko at sport at SABC at Lebo Motswedi hape o tla re fumana ko Facebook. Sebedisang fela the ladies club. Now I've mentioned the guest. Her love for show jumping rather began when she was just 7 years old and was already competing by the age of 9. Her family moved to Gauteng back in 1992 and was later chosen for the SANEF Junior B Team at the East Rand Championships. Her journey thus far has been absolutely nothing but amazing. Lorette, good morning and welcome to the Ladies Club.
Thanks for having me, Lebo. It's nice to be here.
Yeah, the age of 7. What came over you to want to do show jumping, a sport that as a 7-year-old you're probably not even thinking about, unless you are, of course, exposed to such?
No, I wasn't. I come from a non-riding family. My mum and dad, I'm an only child. My mum and dad completely non-horsey, and we went on a holiday in the Drakensbergs. And my dad said he would take me out in the mountains on a ride. And the bug bit, and that was, you know, the rest is history. So it was riding at low levels. At the start, and then obviously learning to jump, because you don't just learn to jump, you learn to ride and to balance, and then you learn to jump. Yeah. If that's your passion, you could also go and do dressage. There's various disciplines, but for me it was the jumping that I was mad about.
The bug was in you, clearly, from the get-go, and you had already decided at that age that the jumping was going to be it. You didn't go for the dressage or anything else.
Actually, as a child, I did many disciplines, all of them, in fact, except eventing, which is out in the country, the big solid fences. My mum and dad wouldn't let me do that. We had 2 deaths, one in South Africa and one in Namibia, young athletes that had horses fall on them, and my parents just said at the age of 13, you will not try eventing.
Dangerous.
It's too dangerous.
Wow, that is our guest, Lorette Knowles-Taylor, who's an incredible South African athlete. But looking at other news, South Africa has seen some very talented athletes over the years, many of who have gone on to represent the country on the international stage. Now, these athletes have raised the South African flag at different international sporting events, have been able to impress the world by their great achievements. Lorette, you have also had plenty of international travels. Tell me about what you enjoy most about what you've done or what you do, because I don't want to get into it yet. There's also coaching in the bag there.
Yeah, but I haven't been overseas for a long time. When Ashley was born, I have a 14-year-old that also show jumps. Yeah. When she was born, I spent that year post her birth traveling quite a bit. My father bought me a horse overseas, so I got to campaign a little bit. And then I was chosen, got my Springbok colours or Protea colours, and competed at the Tri-Nations in New Zealand, which was in 2006. So that was early times. Yeah. I've competed a couple of times since then, but actually the majority at home, obviously as Ashley got bigger and the business got more onerous and things like that. So sadly, still here. I would like to do a lot more internationally if I could.
And how easy is it to get international competition in your sporting code, more especially? Because when you're looking at athletics, when you're looking at swimming, there is sporting codes where you have to, by all means, not just be based in South Africa. You've got to get that international experience.
Obviously, with our horses, it's pretty difficult. It's a 3 to 4 month turnaround time to get horses overseas. It costs a lot of money. Horses have to stand in quarantine in Cape Town because of the horse sickness outbreaks that we have annually, basically. And then a 3-month quarantine to rezone the horse in Mauritius prior to actually getting into Europe. We sent a horse out last year to be sold. My Grand Prix horse was sold there. It was quite a stressful time for the owners, for myself.
I can imagine.
Yeah, they did 6 weeks in Cape Town at Kenilworth Racecourse, and then they flew into Port Louis, and then were transported into a secure facility in quarantine in Mauritius, obviously, for the following 90 days, and then transported out into into Belgium, and then they become Mauritian horses essentially. So it's a whole, they get re-passported, rezoned, whatever you want to call it, but it's quite stressful. The island doesn't have surgery facilities, and horses often get tummy complaints called colic. Horses can't vomit, so they get a sore tummy essentially, and often need surgery if it can't be kept under control. So that was a big worry. Obviously heat, humidity, a whole lot of factors. They're very stressful. Anyway, so that's why I say we have a rider competing overseas at the moment. She travelled a horse out in the same batch as my Grand Prix horse went out with. She's done great guns. She competed at the World Games last year, and she's now about to compete at the World Cup final. We'll definitely get in. Yeah, we'll definitely. But it's difficult. The be-all and end-all is it's very difficult. All right, Lorette is in studio with us. We'll definitely be chatting to her a little bit more right after the short break, because she's also a coach. She does have South African athletes that are doing us very proudly overseas. Remember, you can get in touch with us at sport@SABC at Lebo Motswedi, #The Ladies Club. Welcome back. You are watching the Ladies Club right here on SABC2. Now, looking at other news, South African Football Association Vice President Ria Ledwaba has challenged companies to invest in women's football. She believes this will ensure that Banyana players are paid similarly to their Bafana counterparts. Banyana players don't earn much, but have performed even better than their Bafana counterparts in recent years. They finished as runners-up at the Africa Women's Cup of Nations in Ghana last year, booking a place at the FIFA World Cup in France later this year. So let's continue to back our South African athletes, women especially. But before we continue with Lorette, let's have a quick look at our inspiring quote. Now, it goes like so: proud of my fellow sisters who are strong enough to achieve their dreams in an honest manner. You are capable. You are enough. Those are the words by Nandi Madida, who's a South African singer, actress, and television presenter. She shot to fame after releasing her debut album, Nandi, in 2012. And in 2016, she began co-hosting the BET Entertainment magazine show. She really has had an incredible journey. Now, let's look at some of the obstacles that have come your way, because we're looking at what Ria Ledwaba is talking about, the Vice President of SAFA, Nandi's quote as well, about the support that women lack in women in sport. How have you overcome those obstacles? We are the only sport that I think competes on an equal playing ground with the men. So we're going to talk globally in terms of the sport globally. Probably finances to go and compete internationally. It costs a lot, and we generally float row our own canoe, float our own boat, however you want to call it. In terms of women in the sport, I don't think we're at a disadvantage. It's great to compete against our male counterparts. So you have an equal playing ground in terms of showjumping. So that's exactly where we should be. If you really want to be looked at on your own work ethic and what you put in, it's not a male or female. No, it's combined. So when we compete at whatever level, we compete men and women. That's incredible. And equal pay as well. Equal pay. That's incredible. Pay's not great. I never said that. But it's still equal, nonetheless. But it's equal. It's equal. Yeah. All right, let's look at back in 1999 and 2003. Lorette, you were the country's highest ranked lady rider in those years. How did you ever think when you started that you would eventually get there? I didn't. Childhood dreams. I always wanted to go to the Olympics, so that's still up there. I was born in South Africa, but rode my predominant riding years were obviously in Southwest Africa then, now Namibia. Winning the Derby was never on my highlights. Becoming the top athlete, show jumping athlete in South Africa was obviously a pipe dream. And so very blessed.
But you're also talking about you still have dreams.
I do.
And
I do.
It does appear that show jumping is one of the probably few sporting codes, like lawn bowls as well, that age is not really a problem. There's more experience.
Absolutely.
The better.
I was just going to say, experience counts. The more ring rides, the more times you get into the arena, the more horses you ride, that all counts. So as long as you keep yourself fit and well, and you age well and try not to fall off too often and have too many injuries, and you can keep going, yeah, we have athletes in their 60s that are still competing on the international stage.
Sure. Talking about international stage, Indian rookie Diksha Dakar claimed victory in the South African Women's Open, celebrating a maiden ladies European Tour win in just her 4th professional start at Westlake Golf Club. Now, recently, the 19-year-old left-hander from New Delhi tapped in for par at the final hole for a 3-under par 69 to edge out former 3-time champion Leon Pace by a stroke. Absolutely incredible what our South African golfers and in the neighboring countries are also doing. Now, back to Lorette. You said you've got, you've started now coaching. You've got a couple of athletes under your belt who are doing phenomenal work for Team South Africa abroad as well.
I was fortunate enough to have a really good girl. She took me to the 2014 Youth Olympics in Nanjing. Yeah, her name's Lexi Stace. She's competing on the international stage. She's living in Germany and competing. Qualified for the World Equestrian Games last year. Unfortunately, couldn't go. Horse went lame. But yeah, it takes you to wonderful places, and it's great when you have a good. This young girl has an amazing work ethic, has motivation. You know, there's a lot of factors that come in. You don't just appear on the scene, and you don't just get to coach them or get to do great things. You know, it's got to be a partnership. You've got to have a really good hard worker, talents involved. You know, there's a lot of aspects. Same with all the other sporting codes. But yeah, blessed to have that in my CV.
I also want to get into how accessible is show jumping to a South African young girl, maybe that's watching at the moment, staying in Alexandra, in Soweto, in Kroonstad, a small town. Is it an accessible sport?
Absolutely is. Understand that we're talking high performance with me sitting here.
Yeah.
But entry level would be like any other sporting code's entry level. You would contact your nearest riding school, which is obviously easy now to find on Google or wherever. I mean, in Kroonstad, Soweto, wherever. Enos Mofokati has a wonderful riding school, the Soweto Riding School, close by in Soweto. They would be able to, you would hire horses essentially, and you would learn to ride there.
Absolutely.
And that is still reasonably inexpensive, so it is accessible. It's obviously, as you get more into it and you need your own horse, so if the passion takes hold, that's when things become a bit more expensive. But it's similar in the other sporting codes. You need an expensive bike if you want to do high performance things. I suppose an expensive canoe if you were rowing. You know, it's all pretty relative, I would think.
Now, you mentioned something very interesting about an athlete of yours who's doing very well, and the fact that you're also still competing. Do you ever experience a scenario where you've got your athlete and you've got yourself and you guys are in the same competition?
Yes.
And how do you go about those kind of dynamics?
It's really cool. Well, you've not created, they've created themselves, but you've been a part of the journey. So to watch them beat you,
wow,
it's a good feeling. It is a good feeling. It's
so you can be competing with your students, in other words, and that's okay.
Yes, I mean, I competed with my daughter last weekend, and I compete against my husband. So it's yeah, we often compete with our students, and it's great. It's nice to be able to, for our brand, for our stable yard and things, to be able to show that we're open to you know, that the learning needs to continue, and we're open to them coming to take us on. You know, it's pretty humbling for them to do so, or to beat them in times, because we have some very talented athletes that we coach. Yeah, it's good.
What would you say is the highlight of your career?
Possibly my Derby win in 2007. That sounds like a million years ago.
It does. But yeah, it still stands out. It's still important, quite significant.
Well, I jumped the only clear that year, and I was number 10 to go out of 24 starters. And I remember hiding under the old jump equipment that was outside of the main arena. And I burst into tears because I thought, if somebody else jumps clear, I would not be able to actually, I don't think I could ever ride the round that I'd ridden. And I was the only clear, and I won on a very old, very, not unhealthy. I battled to keep him sound, so with all the legs working all of the time. So it was quite a feat at the time, and I just remember never thinking that I would never be able to do it again, if I had somebody in the jump off with me. So if somebody else went clear, I would have to go head to head with them against time, and I knew I couldn't repeat that performance. It was kind of a once in a lifetime performance.
And so, what would you then say you would most want to achieve, because you are still competing?
I'd really like to be able to go and compete in a South African team in a Nations Cup perspective. We've got some wonderful athletes here and abroad. It would be lovely if we could, and very inspiring to youngsters to be able to create a team and do some damage overseas. We're behind in terms of having our horses over there, but we have talented athletes, and we do have talented horses. Yeah, I think a Nations Cup and possibly a World Equestrian Games, and obviously that Olympic Games hangs.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it really does.
An athlete's dream just to go and partake at an Olympic game. Now let's take a quick break. Do stay with us right here on the Ladies Club, as we will be returning right after this. Welcome back. Let's get right into it and look at our leading lady today, who is South Africa's well-renowned show jumper, Lisa Williams, who grew up in the mother city with a non-horse orientated parents and fell in love with show jumping, like our guest, through her aunt's influence. She has enjoyed a sensational show jumping career, competing all over Europe and the USA. She won the South African League of the FEI World Cup Jumping Qualifier Series with her horse Campbell in 2015, and won it again back in 2016, and in 2017 she won a World Cup class in June. And over the years she has demonstrated that it's possible to compete and shine in Europe. Let's talk to Lorette about the likes of Lisa, talking about competing in Europe and the possibility of South African athletes being able to do so.
But Lisa is one of my very good friends, and one of the women that have the most serious work ethic. She's a businesswoman, and yeah, she's certainly this trip. She travelled out with her horse this time last year, and followed him Cape Town quarantine into Mauritius, and then on into Europe, side by side, basically. I then followed her to Tryon, where she competed at the World Equestrian Games. And I'm in awe.
Really?
Yeah. I get a little choked.
I can tell. Why is that? It's okay. It's okay. Why is that?
Just immense work ethic, and just to do things that we all want to do.
Is it?
Yeah.
And what is it that she does that brings tears to your eyes that you want to do as well? We were supposed to do this trip together. That was our dream. The Cape Town, Mauritius, Europe, yeah.
Yes, and Europe. So, yeah, the lump in my throat and the tears that you see are just, as I say, immense awe for what she has achieved. She's gone on to the indoor circuit. She'll be competing at the World Cup final in 2 weeks' time. She travels with her horse. There's no groom. It's just her and her horse. It's very difficult to do it as a one-man show in terms of one horse competing at that level. She has no warm-up class on another horse. We all like to have sort of a morning, we call it a morning ride, where we would compete at 130 or 140 before we went into a 160 class, so that we were able to prepare mentally and, you know, feel the jumps and, you know, get your rhythm and that kind of thing. She's done it on her own. Just Campbell and her.
Just the two?
Just the two of them. She sometimes has a groom who will travel to some of the bigger shows. her coach has flown backwards and forwards to help her, but for the rest, she's done it on her own. I have immense respect. And I'm sad she's having to come home because it sounds like she's coming home after the World Cup final. It would be wonderful to see what she could do now in the outdoor season. Because understand that when she landed there last year, I think the horses came out in March, she was thrown into the big stuff to prepare for Tryon in North Carolina last year at a really, really 6-star level, which we don't get here. And so she was finding her feet, and now she's finding her feet indoors. We don't jump indoors here, and she's starting to make her mark there. And I think if she was able to go outdoors again now, after this little indoor circuit, we would see great results from a South African lady rider.
And what is your normal day like? How do you prepare yourself to be a South African show jumper? Physically, what goes through the body? Is it a mind thing? Are you also talking to a horse?
Yeah.
I've never done horse riding because I fear horses, and they can smell such sometimes.
They can sense it, they can. My day starts with my daughter at about 5:45 in the morning, get her ready for school. I'm lucky enough now that our driver takes her to the bus stop, because I used to have to do that last year, and I try and get on a horse by 7 a.m. At the moment, I have 7 in my string, so there's little time for gym, unfortunately. I try and get there once or twice a week to the bio. We do strength and core work and things like that, but it's predominantly on horses.
Wow.
Yes, it is important to be in the gym and to be doing strength work and core strength work and things like that, but getting your cardio and your heart rate up needs to be on the horses to do what you see on the pictures. We often competing at high level for possibly only 90 seconds, but it's quite an intense 90 seconds, and you've got to be able to breathe at that time. And the riding, the daily riding, so we ride 6 days a week. The day-to-day riding is what prepares you for what you see on the board.
I mean, you say it's 90 seconds, but we've got the likes of Usain Bolt, that 100 meters in this. So you're training all your life for 10 seconds. So completely understand it. But you're also married into show jumping because your better half is also in the business.
Yes.
Is it easier? Does it make things? Is it hard? Why is it harder? It's meant to be easier.
Yeah. We're super competitive. Yeah. We won't let either one. Have an inch. Boy, believe me, any title that I have or any title that he has, it doesn't come from one or the other giving it up. No, I wouldn't say it is difficult because we work in the same business. We have 65 horses at home. We have a lot of training clients. Sure. It's onerous in terms of trying not to take your business into the house at night or into the house at lunchtime. It's quite lots of balls to juggle. Yeah.
All right, we have run out of time. Just quickly before we go, what can we look forward to in the near future from yourself?
I have a wonderful set of a string of young horses, and I've just acquired a Grand Prix horse.
Wow.
So I'm hoping to possibly contend my 2 meters 5 South African record at the end of Easter. At the end of April at the Nissan Easter Festival. And hopefully get to jump the World Cup Series this year, which due to injury before, I've missed out on 2 years. So yeah.
Well, good luck for all of that, and hopefully you'll keep us updated with everything else that you get your hands on this year.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you very much. That is our guest in studio. Lorette has been absolutely incredible, giving us an insight into show jumping and something that she still continues to do so ever so proudly. Do send us your ideas of trailblazers or stories about women in sport right here in Women on your women's show, that is the Ladies Club. Remember, we'll discuss and dissect everything else next week right here. Before we go, remember that greatness is earned but never given. I'm Lebo Mutswedi. Good morning.